Available by 8. Oops. Okay.
Of course, the object of the Order of the Star in the East was to spread the gospel, so to speak, to prepare people.
Hello, Helen.
Hi.
Hi. Your actual hosts are not yet here. I'm just using my license.
Okay. Oh, look at your windows.
Or David's anyway. I'm at David's.
Oh, okay.
Pretty though, right?
Yeah, they really are.
Yeah. If only I had good lighting, this would be wonderful. But I realize I don't. I'm calling Jeff to see how come he's not logged in. And he's not. All right. Well, anyway, how are you?
Pretty good. Pretty good. I'm emerging from all of the stuff that I've had to do for building the ADU and realizing there's even more stuff to do. But yeah, all is well so far. My cat has this incredible care regimen. I'm now the aged cat, you know, nursing home over here.
Well, I understand because all my kitties are, well, actually, I have a little batch of young ones and a batch of old ones. I had a nice decade where I didn't adopt any. But, you know, the first batch is getting pretty old.
Yeah, she has to be stabbed every day. With the saline.
Oh,
and,
fluids. Does she have kidney issues?
Yeah, she's 18. She's
almost
19.
Yeah, of course.
But so we now have this Lizzie and Raoul come over. It takes 3 of us to hold her down, except I've discovered this new, it's like a kitty fetish bag. It's got 40,000 zips and it has a Velcro collar. So you put the Velcro collar, which is so her head sticks out, and then you put her in the bag. And it has a zip straight down the spine. So
how do you get her in the bag?
She doesn't mind it. You just basically you come at her with the collar, and once you've got the collar on, there's not much. She doesn't fight that much, but she just becomes this sort of calm lump.
Okay, now I'm gonna see if I can make you the host. I'm clicking yes. You're the host. I'm not even the co-host anymore. I don't think you have to make Nancy a co-host now, Jeff.
Okay, let's see if I can do that.
Because I no longer have co-host ability. So you need to make me a co-host so I can turn off this. Oh no, you'll be able to end the meeting. Hi, Nancy.
Hi.
But
yes, I'm a co-host now.
Okay, as am I again. Okay. So Jeff, you're saying if I am a co-host, you're right. That's weird. I can't make Helen a co-host. All right. So
we solved it. Basically, on this end, It looks like I can make anyone a co-host, and it shows me a still recording on your computer.
Correct. So when the meeting is over, I mean, I can leave as soon as I want, which will be soon because I'm going to that other meeting. And we're also working on an offer for a house. And I'm at work. But this will allow, this is one way that'll reduce my workload is what we're saying. So so I can go off to that other meeting and you can end this meeting when it comes to an end. And if I feel like.
What time does the other meeting start?
7 o'clock. No, it didn't. They
7
didn't change it to 8. They are conflicting. In the end, he found his own Zoom license to use. So, so Nancy, you should be able, if you've pulled up participants, we're doing training as we go. So one of the things you and Jeff both need to watch for is as people are arriving, they're in the waiting room. You have to admit them into the real meeting. And also, so can you see now that Audrey just popped up as being in the waiting room?
Yes.
So why don't you try putting your cursor over her name and see if you can admit her?
Yes, I just did.
Okay. And but what you have to watch this space the whole meeting because people's Wi-Fi goes unstable. This has happened to you, I think, and you fall off the meeting and then we have to let you back in. So you have to watch that. Have to watch that space the whole. Oh, look at you! Are we surrounded by hunky men now? Okay. Anyway, so I'm gonna lurk, but I'm not gonna attend this meeting because Nancy, it's your meeting and Jeff's. So I'm gonna turn off my video and turn off my sound because I'm gonna let it be your meeting. Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Nancy, at the same time, I'll help you. At the same time, you'll see that where you admitted people in, if you hover over their name, you can also mute or unmute them. So Marina has arrived. If you want to let Marina in, admit Marina. Okay. Now, for example, H, as in Helen, is unmuted. If you hover over her, you can mute her.
No.
I'm gonna rename her.
Well, I think Helen wants to remain anonymous.
Yes. Pseudonymous.
But as chair of this committee, if you'd like it to open up all of the microphones, you do so at the very bottom of the participants and say unmute all, and then everybody can have a little chat before you decide to start the meeting.
Okay. And then Jeff, we're gonna have to approve the agenda, right? So do I need to share it?
I can do that if you want me to while you continue to do the talking and running.
Great. Okay. Oh.
Another fun little tip is you can unmute yourself and keep yourself permanently unmuted and just hit your space bar and have immediate access to the microphone.
Sorry, I think you broke up, Jeff.
Probably the air conditioning. Another neat little Zoom tip is you can mute yourself and not have to find it again. You just hit the space bar and you will automatically unmute yourself. You just press and hold the space bar.
Oh, okay.
Hello, Miss Lizzie. Can you hear me, Lizzie?
Yes.
There you are.
Hello. Hi, Nancy.
Hi, Lizzie.
Hello, hello everyone.
Okay. I think we can give people another minute to join. I don't see.
Total count right now is at 11. Would the person with the phone number ending in 9622 like to identify themselves so we can change their name if you'd like?
Hi Jeff, it's Officer Mejia. How's everybody?
Aha, I'll definitely change that name. We're going to give it just about another minute and then we'll approve the agenda and Nancy can start the meeting.
Okay, sounds good.
Should we start, Jeff? It's 6:35.
All right, I will open up my screen and share the agenda and you can take it from there.
Okay.
Great. Well, I just want to thank everyone for joining us today. We're starting to have our committee meetings held through Zoom. So we're very, very excited to have everyone here. Please bear with me as this is the first time I'm leading a Zoom meeting. So the agenda was shared through the UNNC eBlast and it's posted up in the, let's see, on the screen. So Jeff, does someone have to move, I guess, to approve the agenda?
This is Steve Peckman. I move to approve the agenda.
Great,
I
thank you,
second,
Steve.
Lizzie.
Lizzie, thank you for seconding. Great, so the first matter of business is any public comments or announcements. Does anyone have any public comments or announcements that they would like to make to the group? Great, hearing none, I do have one announcement. UNNC is hosting a CD10 candidate forum. It's going to be held on September 19th from 2 to 2 p.m. and both Grace Yu and Mark Ridley Thomas will be present. Right now, we are collecting questions that you may have for any of the two candidates. So if you could send them to me, my email address is nancy.cruz@unnc.org. So I'm gonna write that in the chat. Can I do that? If you have any questions for the candidate forum, we'll be circulating the flyer in the next few days. So please RSVP and join us on September 19th.
Nancy, we have a hand raised. That's Rosie. If you'd like to move to her, I'll let her go next, but also we should make it known that this is being recorded so that we can have it for the 30 days that's required by the Brown Act. Rosie?
Hi. Excuse me. I just wanted to say that don't forget that the My LA 311 app is still in effect to pick up all of those bulky items. They're still around Jefferson Park and the surrounding areas. We want to make sure we call them in. Doesn't have to belong to you. It could be on your way to work, it could be in the neighborhood. Just call it in before your date of the pickup for trash and they'll come pick it up. You know, I do it all the time. We have to really keep our neighborhood looking clean. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Rosie. Let's see, David?
I was
Go
just going to
ahead.
say what Rosie said, if you use the 311 app, make sure if you're talking about alley items, that you're as specific as possible, because the sanitation department has a tendency to stand at the end of the alley. If they can't see it, they report that it's not visible and close it. I had 4 times that I went through trying to get something picked up, going through supervisors, through Jeff. I was CCing Jeff, and they kept saying, not there, not there. And it was like right behind Shaw Park. They just weren't going down the alley to look at it. So just be very specific about where it is. If it's mid-alley, say that you have to go into the alley to see it. Just give them as much in specifics as you can.
Great, thanks, David. Lizzie, go ahead.
Yes, just to let everybody know that Congressperson Karen Bass will be hosting a virtual congressional conversation in West Adams, Jefferson Park, this coming Monday, August 31st from 5 to 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And the information has been posted on the Historic Jefferson Park Facebook page if you need it. Thank you.
Thanks, Lizzie. Danny, I'll go to you.
Hello. I just had a quick question. Last year, someone slammed into my telephone pole across the street from me, and DWP came and kind of just rigged it, tied stuff around it, put a post, and they tied a rope to my fence to keep a cable from falling. And I thought they were going to come back like the following week to fix it or replace the telephone pole, and they never did. So I guess I just need to call them, or any advice on that?
Danny, if you send me an email, I'll be after Anna Maria Mejia, our senior lead officer, is finished. I'll be giving a quick report, and I'll put in information where you can contact me, and I can help you follow up with that. I've seen that happen a couple of times, so we can work on that.
Got it. Thanks, Jeff.
Seeing no more hands, then we can go ahead and move with Senior Lead Officer Ana Maria Mejia.
Hi, everybody. How's everybody doing?
Great, thank you.
Good.
Great, thank you.
Good, thank you.
Good. So as you know, we have a new captain here at Southwest. His name is Paul Espinoza. So he's been with us for the past 3.5 weeks now. Captain Billy Brockway has moved on to other things. So we're excited now to work with our new captain. And then I know that there may be some questions for Officer Olega's area because it is a vacant spot right now. But if anybody was on Coffee with the Captain last week, obviously we're waiting to be able to fill these empty vacant spots. I am currently covering our area as well as Basic Car 15 in West Adams, and obviously it goes all the way down to Vermont and Adams. So it's been very busy. So I know there's probably some folks for 55's area, and I could try and do my best to answer questions for that area. But right now, my sole responsibility is those 2 areas, 31 and 15. Does anybody have any questions about 55? Because I could go on their crime area to give a quick little update, since this is our meeting that we share with 55. Does anyone have questions for that area? Remember everything that's south of Jefferson? No?
What again? Yes, I'd like to hear it.
Rosie, is that you?
You said south of Jefferson, right?
Yes, yes. So let me just go. So I know one of the complaints are some of the homeless in the area, and I think one of the RVs at one of the residents off 10th Ave, I think it was near Harold and Bells. So everybody understands that the mayor had put out a moratorium where we cannot touch anything with the RVs. So all the sections for the impound has been suspended. As of now, it's until October 1st. So we're basically on a waiting period. And then for both 55 and 31's area, when it comes to all the homeless encampments, especially in 31's area, we have a few big ones. But again, like in the beginning of the meeting, when you guys say bulky items, if you guys see it, do that 311 app. Obviously, there's no cleanups being done right now because of COVID-19. And we work well with, well, Jeff knows, with sanitation from the council's office. But unfortunately, because of the situation, there are no cleanups right now. So I know there's complaints of narcotics and prostitution. Our narcotic unit here at Southwest is aware of that. So is our vice unit. So they already have the complaints that have came out from the community, from me, and then obviously in Officer Allega's area as well. For 31's area, I'm going to do a quick update, and then I'm going to pull up 55's area. With 31, for the last couple weeks, we've been good with crime. We had a couple ags, but it's domestic, so I keep that confidential. But in the beginning of August, we had a burglary for motor vehicle off of West Boulevard in Adams. And it was basically that suspects approached the victim's vehicle. They used an unknown tool, and they pried open the driver's side door, and they took the victim's property. So again, there was a wallet, money, and credit cards in that vehicle. So do not leave your personal belongings in the car. And then for 55, I know he had a couple GTAs. Does anybody have any questions while I'm pulling up Olega's area or what he had?
Could you remind me which areas, which 55 and all of that?
So 31 is Jefferson and Western, and then we go north all the way down to 11th Avenue. And then 31 covers the south and north side. And then obviously that goes all the way down to La Brea and Jeff, Adams and La Brea, all the way up to Montclair. And then everything south is 55, and he goes, well, it's empty. So they'll go to like King and Western, King Park, all that's in 55's area.
Okay,
Lizzie has her hand raised up. Go ahead, Lizzie.
Sorry. Hello, Officer Mejia. Thank you, first of all, for stopping by on our block the other day to have a talk with one of our neighbors regarding an issue that you're aware of.
Yes.
But now we have two other concerns. So this is not quite an encampment, and it was brought up in the Coffee with Captains, but we submitted it late, so it didn't make the Q&A section. So there is a gathering that has been going on for many, many months. 311s have been placed all the time. It is not quite an encampment because I don't think they are sleeping there, but they gather there the whole day, including pets, no mask wearing, no social distancing. There's all kinds of furniture. There might be drinking.
Is that the one on St. Andrews and Jefferson?
Yes, St. Andrews and Jefferson. Is there an update
So
to that?
we have done cleanups there before COVID, and there is a, what was that?
We did notice, yes.
And so there isn't a homeless gentleman there with his dog who refuses services. So we have cited the folks that are not homeless that hang out with him and drink. So we have cited those individuals, but obviously they come back, they do what they do, and then they leave. So we'll do enforcement again in the area. But again, all the items that are there is part of the encampment with the gentleman that stays right at the mouth of the alley, and he takes up the whole sidewalk. And I have talked to the auto body shop that's on the corner there.
Right.
And I told them as well that, you know, if as soon as it, because obviously they're there in a business, but as soon as they start seeing them build up with bulky items and making it a larger encampment, if they can let us know ahead of time. But earlier, like we were saying, is if anybody, eventually, I'm hoping that sanitation can clean up the bulky items. But one thing is, if the individual is at the encampment, they will not touch it. And this comes from the mayor's office. There's nothing that LAPD can do with it. So if there's any complaints about it, I suggest you take it to the mayor's office.
All right.
Because this is what he put out.
Yes.
But what we can do, obviously, is if we see them drinking in public, we can do a citation. And then, you know, but I can go over there again. I was on vacation last month. So if they're out there again, we can hit it like we did before, and they move around, because some of those guys live on the south side of St. Andrews and Jefferson, in that vacant area now of 5-5's area. So I'll go address that again. And then because we're talking about 31's area, I want to address the situation on 31st Street with the residents working on the vehicles. So they know that we have an issue, and I already put out for street services to do an investigation. And what that basically means is they go out and cite them, and then I've met with our auto detectives and what the LAPD side can do as well. And then I'm pretty sure he's going to cooperate, considering we did have a shooting last year at that location as well. And I know everybody that lives around that area is fully aware of the problems there, correct?
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay.
There's one last issue that probably is linked to that same problem spot. So we noticed that on our block, which is a slow street, there are cars zooming in at very high speeds and making a lot of noise. So we are concerned about both noise pollution and the excessive speed. Sometimes they go from 0 to 60 on the same block.
Is that on 31st?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And what time of day is that happening?
Different times of the day, including the middle of the night.
So daytime then and nighttime?
Yes.
Okay. What I will do is request our south traffic, and I'll see if motors can set up and give citations to the speeders on the block.
Thank you so much.
And then I do want to mention, hold on, I'm just writing stuff down as we talk. For all the donut complaints and the street racers, clearly it has been an issue in our south traffic. They do have a task force, but we only have 4 officers assigned to that. And I know the supervisor over there and Captain Pinto, they do the best to address it. But if you guys see it, like you guys have, everybody in the community, what they've been doing, you know, call the police immediately, because several months back we had a big issue and it came all the way down to Jefferson and Western, Well, because the radio calls that were made, there were 911 calls. So they were able to get over there, and they took one of the guys in custody because it's reckless driving. So either way, it helps. I just need you guys to all be careful because I know some of you go out there and you videotape it, but just be careful because some of these guys will go into the communities all over Southwest. It's not just in Jefferson Park, and they'll block the streets, and then they have their guys start street racing. So it does help when we get a plate and a vehicle and video, but just be very careful for your safety. But it does help us. And then when you do make those calls in so the police can respond immediately, just give a good description so then we know what we're looking for, because that's what helped out with that last incident that we had on Jefferson, and it went to Western, and we ended up getting that guy in custody. We've seen a lot more of it throughout the city, and I think it's because of COVID, and you know, people think that there's less traffic on the street. But either way, we do enforce it. Southwest is fully aware of it, so is South Traffic, and both of our captains are working together to make sure we address those issues. For 55's area, I just want to go into let's see. Everything on for Jefferson Park, we've been pretty good with what we share with 55's area. Just in his other area, there was a grand theft auto off of the 1400 block of 35th Street. And then there was a burglary at the 3800 block of Brighton. And it looks like the suspect entered the residence with the unknown method or tool. And then he ended up going into the residence and fled with the victim's property. Doesn't show that there's any video. And then there was another grand theft in the 1800 block of Martin Luther King Boulevard, as well as another grand theft auto off of the 3800 block of Dalton. But in our area off the avenues and Jefferson, it looks good. Yeah, nothing's going on. Did anyone have any questions?
Helen, did you still have a question?
Ellen, go ahead.
The loud noise and the racing that goes on our block comes from that one place where I think part of the business is fixing up people's mufflers so they make a lot of noise to make that hot rod noise. So there are always people putting out their new muffler up and down our block, as well as the 2 Chevy trucks that always zoom to the end where they have to stop anyway. So there's like 2 or 3 trucks that live there that make a lot of noise, but then there's all the shade mechanic business trucks as well.
So do you think, Helen, that when they're working on those vehicles and then afterwards they're test driving them up and down 31st there?
Yeah, because it's different cars that come and go zoom, and they make this huge souped up hot rod noise. So and they do it all the time. Like one time we were sitting outside and they just zoomed up and down the street for like 20 minutes, up and down, up and down. And there's a couple of little mini bikes too that are outrageously loud that park there. It's not just.
And then you said there's 2 Chevy trucks?
Yeah.
Does it belong to the owner where Yolanda lives?
Yeah, there's one that's like turquoise blue, and then there's a black one. But there's always tons of different cars zooming up and down. Yeah, really
well, when I went over there, and that's why I'm trying to, it's bad. So I'm trying to work with our detectives to see if we can even do a task force. And what I need though is for the city, which I already have a contact and already arranged it, where they can do an investigation, because clearly you see that they're working on the vehicles and all the cars that are parked in the neighborhood relate back to that address. So that's one thing that we can help. And then also our auto detectives are going to help as well, because it is a problem, and because I've got 3 homes that are a problem right there. And 2 of them are connected. So one, obviously Yolanda was very cooperative when I went out there. And I'm sure her husband will be as well, because it's going to be a big fine. And if I don't see the progress, then I'm going to go above that and talking about abatement at the location.
Thank you.
And then I'll keep everybody informed, because I know a lot of you in my area live around right there, and clearly, you know, it's a problem. So we will definitely do what we can to enforce the issue.
Thank you, officer.
Audrey,
You're welcome.
Audrey, you have your hand raised.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can
Yes.
hear you. Go ahead.
All right. It's Audrey Arlington here. Thank you, Officer Mejia, for the work that you've done on that location with the shade tree mechanic operation. I just wanted to add to what Helen said, that the car repair proceeds apace there. I haven't noticed any reduction in it at all. They do tend to send the wife out to talk to anyone who shows up to talk to them about it, because they're all hiding in the back because they don't want to talk to you. And it would be really great if the street inspectors could come out and start citing. So we appreciate anything you can do to pursue this with them, to make it real to them, because this has been going on for many, many years. Thank you.
Thank you, Audrey. I'll have a mini update in my section. Rosie, you have your hand raised, and then Brian.
Rosie?
Okay, the problem is when you try to unmute yourself, it says the host is not allowing people to unmute themselves. What can be done about some of the houses that constantly are playing very loud music at all times of day and the night? I did contact Nicole Butler, and I didn't know that Pierre was no longer with us, but she had Sergeant, I think his last name is Ware, contact me, and he was kind of like, well, we can't really do too much. We can't make like a noise abatement or whatever, but sometimes it is from like 5:00 p.m. up until 10, 11 o'clock at night, every day. And I noticed that certain days they're kind of quiet, and I have asked them to put, to turn the music down, and then one decided to curse me out. And I don't know if the people who are living in the back are living there legally. There's some like little tool shed house in the back that I think someone is living in. I don't know if that's a legal living dwelling or not, but it gets kind of irritating because I'm an essential worker, and when I get off of work, I want to have peace and quiet, not to have to listen to music all day and all night.
Rosie, you and I can talk about this one offline. That's a code
Okay.
enforcement issue that I could perhaps help out with.
Okay, thanks.
Brian?
Yeah, hi, thank you. Yes, I'm a resident of 31st Street as well, and Helen and Audrey and I hadn't talked about this issue, but I just want to second everything that I've heard from them. We obviously witnessed the same thing and know our neighbors very well and understand the issues here on our street. So I just, I appreciate that that this is being brought forward. When I called Southwest Police Station a couple of weeks ago, I was kind of discouraged because I was told that, hadn't I heard that the mayor defunded the police, and what could I be expected for LAPD to do about it? So to hear that action can be taken here is quite heartening. So thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Nancy, back to you. Are there any other questions for Officer Mejia?
Are there any other questions or comments?
Thank you very much, Officer Mejia. We appreciate all you're doing,
Sorry, Jeff,
especially since
breaking
you're
up. I don't know
covering
if it's
many
my mic.
areas.
Okay, I don't see any other questions. So I think we can move on to the next agenda item. Also, the person in the iPhone, if you could announce yourself just so that I can rename you.
They may not want to be identified, Nancy.
Okay, okay, sounds good. All right, Jeff, I think it's your turn now.
Yay! keep an eye on the screen because I'm going to pop up my note.
Sounds good.
There we go. I'm really excited to quote, see everyone, and I'm really glad to have this meeting back. The last time we met was in person in February. You can count the months and figured it out, but UNNC is expanding their Zoom license to include committees, so their committees are really starting to meet again. A lot of the mayor's announcements from the beginning of this pandemic have been pretty much extended to October 1 for a lot of city services and city departments, and that includes the relaxed parking enforcement. I do know that they are only ticketing for vehicles that are parked in red zones and in front of driveways, and time limits for PPDs. I will copy and post this into the chat so you have the information so nobody gets confused. But know that this has already been changed, I want to say 3 times. So it's something that we have to deal with. And I'll tell you, as a deputy, and many of you know that I've been working with, it is very frustrating because it's literally handcuffed us, and there are only so many things that we can do. But when you work with the neighbors experiencing it, the guys that I've been working with and the gals, thank you so very much, because you've helped me to think creatively. And we've gone after some of the issues on 31st Street, utilizing many different agencies. We started with street service inspectors that actually did come out and cite. And that very night they came out, street services contacted parking enforcement, even though they weren't supposed to be enforcing, they did, and issued tickets for those not displaying their permits in the overnight district. We've also used code enforcement. And I am dealing with them directly. They were hit pretty hard by COVID. So they've only been going out in situations where it's a life-threatening emergency. The auto use that we're seeing on 31st has been reported, has been given an inspector, and they have it on suspended enforcement. And I can let you know that the person I'm dealing with in code enforcement has it on suspended enforcement so that it's not closed. What that means is as they get more inspectors coming back in after having to quarantine or test positive for COVID, they're sending them out to what I refer to as CD10's hot list, and 31st is on that hot list. The empty lot on Western, 2925, is also on suspended enforcement. So, you know, that's a good thing. Stuart, I thought I saw Stuart on earlier. We've worked with Stuart, Stephen, and David and sanitation to get things cleaned up. And they finally do get it now. So if you have issues where you're doing like an alley and pointing things, if you have those issues, send me those pictures because they really do help. They reopen the case, they resend them out, they make them go further down the alley, and those items disappear. So please continue to let me know about those. Other issues we've been seeing is over in Rosie and Sandra's area, the dairy, quote the dairy, 11th and 36. Been working with code enforcement who did actually come through on this one too. Not watering down the dust while they were demolishing, and they sent inspectors out immediately, stopped it. They tried to do it again a few weeks later, came right back out and stopped them. So now they are consistently doing that. They also are now, or had been, experience issues where the concrete trucks were all lined up on the street coming in to do their job and just sitting there parked for, you know, half an hour, 45 minutes of time waiting for their lineup. Building and safety came out and said, no, you can't do that either. Try to use exposition and come in when it's in your turn. Don't disrupt the residential neighborhood. We also have the homeless gentleman at 9th Avenue in Jefferson at the Concord Church. I do know that we had three or four different services, including county, working with him. The church was installing a gated doorway where he tends to hang out. And the day that happened, LAPD sent an officer just for safety purposes. County was there as well to speak with the man, to offer him services, to offer him temporary housing, what have you. So that's happening. Let's see. Oh, and because things are showing or looking like they're going to start opening up even more, that's why I'm hopeful October 1st is going to be the deadline where we stop seeing all of these relaxed services. That's going to mean that we are each out more. Our office still has free masks available. We have limited, well, we have masks available. There are regular masks, and then for those of you that like to show your pride, there are a limited number of pride masks as well. I will put that in the chat window, and you just go to the website, order it, and we'll mail it to you as soon as you signed up for them. And I really think that's it for me. I mean, I'm still continuing to drive your grid. I can get in my car, I can be safe, I can go around, I can check out hot spots, I can take pictures, I can report to various different agencies, use 311. So those of you that don't already have my contact information, I am going to post that in the chat now too. If you're on the phone, it is jeffjff.camp@lacity.org. And my city cell, where you can get me during business hours, 9 to 6, is 323-733-7081. With that, I thank you guys for all your help. I thank you for letting me know what's happening in your neighborhoods that I can't always see or stay on top of, but please reach out to me, and if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Did you say you're posting your email in the group chat as well, Jeff?
Yes, I just posted it.
Lizzie, can you unmute yourself?
I think I'm unmuted.
Okay,
Am I?
go ahead. Yes,
All right.
you are.
Yes. Jeff, so is there an update on the southwest corner of 29th Street and Western, the fenced up property?
Is the
29.
the quote the church?
It's the empty lot that is full of weeds.
Oh yes, yes,
Oh,
yes. That one
27th
I get.
Street.
Yeah, that one
29th
I.
Street, I believe.
27th, Jeff.
27th. Yeah, that one is on suspended. That was the two that I named that were under suspended enforcement. So as they get more work crew coming back in, they will be dealing with it. On both of those properties, Lizzie, quote the church and the empty lot, we have sent a communique to the property owner from our office.
Right.
Whether or not that goes anywhere, I can't guarantee, but they've already been reported to code enforcement, and code enforcement has them, and they'll be the first on the list as they start resuming service again.
All right. So the church, you mean meaning the property on Western and 31st?
Correct.
Okay. And the other one is, yeah, the
Yeah.
one on 29th Street. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Jeff.
Thanks, Lizzie. Rosie, go ahead and ask your question.
Okay. I don't know if this is something that's offline or not, but at the Sweet Greens on 10th Ave, I'm not 10th Avenue, 11th Avenue, they park all of their cars in the red along 11th, and on 11th and 36 it's already very hard to see, especially when you're turning or going straight. And that's become a big problem. I know across the street, I'm not sure if they also bought the grocery offices, executive offices, and there's a parking lot right there. And then right next door where the Prop D weed place was, I don't know if somebody bought that area now, but I just wonder why are so many people parking on the street and not in the parking lot? Because they're parking in the red, fire hydrants, everything.
On that one, from what I heard, and I can't confirm this, Laura might have even more information, but I understand Sweet Green is the one who is behind the dairy renovation.
Right.
And they may have moved outside of the area because of the demolition and now the construction that's happening. But I will tell you that there is no relaxed parking when it comes to red curbs whatsoever. Those can be ticketed. So if you see that, you can contact parking enforcement and let them know they are in front of a meter, they are parking in red, you know, that sort of thing.
So that's every
Okay.
north side, the east and west side, in the red, all the way down the street.
Okay, I will go down myself tomorrow and take some pictures and request parking enforcement to come out and ticket.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Sandra.
Hi, thank you. Jeff, thanks for all you're doing. It's really appreciated, and your responsiveness is awesome, so I appreciate that. I have a question in regards to the property on Jefferson and 12th Avenue, that commercial building on the, what is that, the east side
Where
of,
Stock's Liquor was?
then across the street from Stocky. They have a substantial amount of trash that builds up over there every week. It's just like a dump. I'll do my 311, but what I've been having to do is actually call the realtor to let them know that either they need to cut the grass, they need to pick up the trash. Is there something I should be doing differently than calling the realtor on that?
Is this
Is this
auto
Sandra?
use or?
Yes,
Yes,
it
Sandra
is.
Paul.
Hi.
Hi there, Senior Lead Officer. Yeah, the business that Emmett had before, the business where Emmett was, that metal place. Parkway is filthy. I've called the realtor, but should I call the city on that?
I can make contact with them myself. Jeff, what were you going to say? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I was just trying to identify which business it was.
It's right
former
across
Ironworks.
from, yes.
Where the Ironworks used to
It's
be.
on 12th Ave. It's on the north side of the street at the light
Northwest
there.
corner, yeah. The
Yeah.
Ironworks moved out. There was a packaging people that moved in. They moved out. They're doing some work inside the place, but no one's taking care outside the place.
Got it.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Steve. Yeah.
Sandra,
So,
I would recommend continuing to speak with the realtor. Technically, the city, though, is responsible. How fast you get a response for them cleaning it up is another thing that's up in the air. But if you'd like, I can also try to do some pushing as well.
I'd appreciate it. I did call them today, and when I said I'm calling in regards to the property and the trash on the parkway, they said, "Are you with the city?" I attempted to say yes, but I didn't. So I told them that I was going to report it again to the city if they didn't come this week to clean it up.
Yeah, that's probably the best route to take. Property owners don't always maintain their properties. They think it's the city. I pay my taxes, let them take care of it. But you know, sometimes you got to get a give and take. But you're doing the right thing.
All right. Thanks again, Jeff.
And I'll look into it too, everybody.
Right. A lot of the
I
trash
can
does
source
come
and
from
stuff.
people who live out of their cars, who park there for the night and leave stuff there. There's a green van and a few others. So that's where a lot of the trash is coming from, besides regular homeless.
Ryan, did you have a question?
Everybody knows. I want to make sure that when this voting comes up, make sure everybody realizes what they're voting yes and no on. Because this homeless thing completely has gotten out of hand. And it obviously, you see the result of what's happening to our community and our city. So it's something that we really have to address.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for Jeff?
I'll drop one more property of interest for Jeff. I mean, we all know the usual Montclair Adams scenario. There's one construction that seems almost new that's gated, that's kind of been a billboard for the Easy Riders gang for months on end. So it's fenced and you can't 311 it. I don't know if you're aware of that one, kind of, you know, where all the markets are and stuff on Adams and Montclair. And I don't know if you have any, and the Rados project also on Edge Hill in Montclair just seems to have stopped. I don't know if you have any knowledge on any of the Montclair type stuff, Jeff.
I on the Edge Hill Montclair, I don't. I'm familiar with the Montclair and Adams, and we have been, and Mejia, Officer Mejia, Senior Lead Officer Mejia has been a part of that as well. So thank her very much. The homeless encampment that is at Montclair not Montclair, is it,
Is
I'm
it
sorry, Bronson and Adams, yes, has been on our hot target, and Mejia, with her help, brought in narcotics and prostitution, and sanitation has come out 2 times. They were like almost wearing hazmat suits. But again, like what's said here before, until the mayor lifts his orders, they come in only to clean up, but then they come right back. Anna, you've got your hand raised.
No, exactly what you're saying. I mean, the homeless thing and all the encampments that we have currently, we know exactly where the locations are. And even if we get an arrest, maybe one of them has a warrant or possession of narcotics. Unfortunately, because of a while back when Proposition 47 passed, those crimes are all infractions. So they get right back out and they go right back to that location. So this is where, you know, it's like a evolving circle where it just keeps going back and forth. So that's why we really got to try to change some things, especially with this. I mean, I don't mean to be political, but with the upcoming election, to help what we can enforce out there. And like Jeff said, you know, what the mayor has put out, it's really tied our hands. But when we are able to do the things we do, we try to do our best to get it done. Because I make sure that here, our command knows and they see it. If any property crime goes up, it's a revolving around the issues that we have in the community with the homeless activity.
Thank you, Officer Mejia.
You're
Any other
welcome.
questions? Okay, seeing none, then we're going to go ahead and move on to the next topic.
One
I'm
moment,
going to
Nancy.
say, I'm just going to say goodbye to everybody because we do have a protest going on downtown. So I hope everybody has a good evening. Everyone has my contact. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you for everybody participating in this. We appreciate it. And I will see you all soon.
Thank you, Anna Maria. That's exactly what I was going to do, was free you.
Thank you.
Be safe out
Thank you.
there,
Guys,
Anna
take care.
Maria.
Thank you. I will, honey. Thank you.
Sarah, did you
Bye-bye.
have a question?
Yeah, sorry, I this is my first time coming to the committee, so maybe I'm missing something, but have there been like specific incidents at this encampment? Like, have there been real issues? I'm just kind of behind here, but it seems like, I don't know, I don't have all the information.
Sarah, the encampment at Bronson and Adams?
I guess, yeah, anything we were talking about citing or sending out enforcement for citations and
Yeah, I can give you the answer on that real quick. Anything that is considered a homeless encampment, a vehicle that looks like someone may be living in it in an RV, nothing can be done to remove them, period. But they can still deal with illegal activities from narcotics to prostitution. And they usually cite them and in some cases take them away, but they come back. It's kind of like a revolving door. And for some of the encampments that are larger in nature and surrounding, you know, residential neighborhoods, we put those onto our hotspots to work with LASA to bring out care teams, sanitation to come and literally sanitize everything. But the process involved with that is the sites must be posted 72 hours in advance. Sanitation comes out, sprays everything down, takes away trash that's not identified as something owned by those persons there. And then half an hour later, they're right back and everything's clean and good to go. So that is because of a court order. We're under an injunction at this point, and until we have more.
I guess I'm just, granted, we can move on. I guess I was just trying to figure out if there were complaints about criminal activity coming, and then we
Yes,
were having police enforcement, or if it was just complaints about actual people, about the encampment in general, and then they were using criminal enforcement to get rid of them, get them out of the
No,
encampment.
no. Police are not pulled in at all until they can, if anyone were to observe prostitution or narcotics, drug activity, what have you, we alert Southwest and they alert narcotics and vice. And if they themselves see it too, then they cite. But that's all it is pretty much citing. They don't spend any time in jail. And they are not removed.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. We'll move on to the next topic. Allison, are you here?
I am.
Great, Allison. Welcome. Do you want to share your screen?
Sure. Oops. Host disabled participant screen sharing.
Yeah, let me give you that, Allison. Hang on just a second. Ooh.
So
Okay.
you do that, I can
Make co-host. There we go.
Great. So our next item is the presentation and discussion of the proposed Jefferson apartments that are to be located at 1885 West Jefferson Boulevard. And so Allison will do a short presentation. She is a representative of the Venice Community Housing.
Thanks, Nancy. Good evening, everyone. My name is Allison Riley. I'm Senior Director of Housing Development for Venice Community Housing. On the call, we also have Anoop Patel, who is our Senior Project Manager, and Linda Lux, who is one of our community engagement leads. And we met with the Plum Committee of the Neighborhood Council last week and learned about your group. And so we're excited to be here this evening, really mostly to introduce ourselves. We are Venice Community Housing based in Venice, and our mission is really to reduce homelessness and meet the service needs of the communities that we're in. We have a strong drive to protect and strengthen, economic, racial, and cultural diversity of Venice and other neighborhoods on the west side, and a commitment to really building community and partnerships wherever we are working. And so our footprint is growing slightly, but we are looking to also partner with local organizations as we grow, to make sure that we have those relationships with folks who have relationships with all of you. So part of why we're here tonight is to learn more about you and to bring you into the conversation. So again, Venice has been around since 1988, and we have 236 affordable homes in the Venice, Mar Vista, Del Rey area. We also have over 200 units in our pipeline in Venice. We were created by a neighborhood group like yourselves who were concerned about the challenges that folks were facing, and really gentrification in Venice. And so, they created Venice Community Housing, to try to preserve affordable units here, and then, evolved over time to provide additional services, including a youth build program, which helps young folks get a high school diploma and on-the-job training in construction and medical billing. We have after-school programs. We have some transitional housing for families and transitional aged youth as well. And as I said, we're here to promote diversity and to really engage our neighbors around our communities. We are partnering with Gonzalez Goodell Architects. They are, you know, award-winning architect and have done a lot of collaborative work in neighborhoods, and particularly around with affordable housing. And so they are actually the architect at that site, as somebody mentioned earlier, on Montclair. It was a project that I was involved with in my previous organization at Path Ventures. And so the site we're here to talk about tonight is at 1885 West Jefferson at St. Andrews and Jefferson Boulevard. Currently, this is kind of what exists on the site now. It's a building that was built in the early 1900s and was marketed as a building that we could potentially occupy right away. But unfortunately, they, you know, does not have a certificate of occupancy for the use that it was issued for. And so our due diligence to date is indicating that really a redevelopment strategy is needed for this property. And so that's why, again, we're here today to kind of talk about what that means. And, you know, at the neighborhood council last week, we talked a little bit about what the maximum things that we think the code allows. And we heard a lot of feedback about, you know, height and parking and the HPOZ, which is a significant, you know, piece to the community, right? That we want to make sure that we are responsive and in what we put forth. And so we are working on that. So I don't have anything kind of new in the plans there, but we wanted to, again, like come out tonight, meet you folks, find out, you know, who in this group, you know, might want to participate in additional meetings and that sort of thing. Linda Lux is here, and she could talk a little bit about Venice Community Housing's kind of philosophy and process around community engagement. We're still really early in this process and look forward to a robust engagement process. Do you want to just take 2 minutes, Linda? You're on mute, though.
Hi, okay, I'm unmuted. Hi. Yes. Okay, hi, I'm Linda Lutz, and what I do for Venice Community Housing for our developments as we go forward is find people in the neighborhood to talk to. We'll go wherever we're invited. We have multiple meetings when we're in the proposal process before we even design something. We want to, like what we're doing now, if we're thinking of doing something, we want to talk to everyone that we can in the community to get input in terms of what would be acceptable, what would be the community could support, and also to find community partners. So we're a very hands-on, very a collaborative organization. We've got 15 properties. We have 4 in the pipeline, and we do extensive community outreach. So I'm happy to be here. As Allison said, that we attended the neighborhood council land use meeting. We'll go to any meetings that you'd like to invite us to. And I would ask if there are people that we need to talk to that we don't know yet that we need to speak to them. Would really appreciate recommendations of who we should reach out to, and we will. But we need that from you because we don't live right there. We're west side, further west, and we need your input. And that's basically how we work, and we can take any questions, but we won't do this without the community being on board, if not everybody, as many as we can. But we need to know what you think and what you think of that property, and just generally get a sense of what's possible in your community and hopefully be there at some point. So if you have any questions or
so I just also say, right, like, so I think I mentioned that we'll be going to the HPOZ meeting next week. So that's another opportunity to chime in. And then, you know, part of that engagement process, we typically have, you know, some small group meetings, right? We'll identify some folks who will identify some folks, and we'll have, you know, some some small group meetings so that we can have some real conversation about, about the project in detail. But yeah, I think that's what Linda said is exactly right. So
if you have any like local groups, where you live that are not the ones we've just mentioned, that you'd like to invite us to talk to a group of people, whether small or large, we're happy to do that. And that's how we get to know you and you get to know us. So please.
Looks like there's a few people who are ready to talk. And Steve, I know you mentioned last week some groups that you're a part of, and like if you could let us know how to connect with you on that. I think some were on Facebook. If we just reach out to you that way, that'd be helpful.
Okay, so I'm gonna start with Audrey first because she had her hand raised first. Audrey, I'm asking you to unmute.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Allison, I'd just like to clear up a question about what the site comprises here. In the aerial photograph that you showed us, and also on the site map that you've shown at the meeting last week, it seems as though this, of course, the site area includes that freestanding three-story apartment building to the east of the quite large building that's on the northeast corner of St. Andrews and Jefferson. And the site map, yes, you can see it there. And the site map as well shows that the site corresponds to 5 lots of the adjacent residential uses on the south side of 31st Street. Is that correct?
Whoops, I can't draw, but like we're not that 3-story building is not part of us, so we just didn't draw the line, and I can't draw a line on it.
Okay, well the site map clearly shows that it does include it, so you might want to correct that before you go to another public meeting again.
Okay.
If you have your site map that you can show, it's like a Google map overlay. Do you have that slide?
I think it was the slide before this one.
Yeah, it very clearly shows that it includes that freestanding 3-story apartment building. All right,
Yeah.
you see it?
I see what you mean. I totally see, and you're right, that is wrong.
So then, in fact, how many residential lots to the north is this project adjacent to? Is it 3? Is it 4?
It's 3 lots. I think we talked about that last week too, right? That it was 3 lots.
All right, so you might want to correct this because both the aerial and the site map show something else. That was it. Thank you for the clarification.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Audrey.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Audrey.
that.
Steve, I'm asking you to unmute. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Allison. There are a number of people here tonight. This is also a UNNC subcommittee meeting who were present at the meeting last week. And so I'll try to summarize just briefly what I thought I heard last week. Your proposal is 5 to 6 floors, 60 to 80 units without parking.
Okay. Sorry, that is what felt like what we were proposing. What we were trying to share was what we think is the maximum allowed. We are, so I think where we are is a 4 to 5 story range, and in a 50 to 60 unit count, maybe 65 kind of parameter. But yeah, so that was just, it wasn't, and again, right, we're not exactly proposing anything right now. We're trying to figure out if, what's reasonable, what can we fit,
right,
and what can operationally be feasible to distinguish whether we should be moving forward here.
The problem is, and I'm sure you could appreciate this having done previous community engagements, it's hard for the community to provide input without a proposal. I think that overwhelmingly our community supports affordable housing. And I can't speak for everybody, but I certainly have been plugged into many people in our community, and I think overwhelmingly they support affordable housing. But they also support historic preservation of our area, as stated last week. And I don't know if you've had an opportunity to read the historic preservation plan that was approved by the City of Los Angeles for this part of Jefferson Park, but it provides very specific guidelines for building on the property that you want to build in. And I think it's important when you're formulating a proposal, specifically when you're talking to the HPOZ board next week, I don't know what you're talking about with them if you don't really have a proposal, but that's your business. Is that you ensure that the proposal, that whatever you're going to talk about somehow comports what's in the plan. Because the plan reflects what the community requested that the city protect within our community, right? And so to come into our community with an attitude of respect, which is what you talked about last week, it's important to demonstrate respect for what the community asked the city to provide us and then granted us, which is preservation of the historic fabric of Jefferson Park.
Yes, and you were very clear last week, and I appreciate the clarity again. And we are working on refining our plans based on that feedback, and we'll have you know, some options to kind of talk through, you know, the kind of the pros and cons, and also, you know, what the trade-offs are that we have to work with in, you know, in making the project feasible. And so we'll have something more to share next week. I just don't have anything more to share tonight. And like I said, right, so understanding that this group is kind of focused on community safety, we were hoping to hear other ideas around maybe around that, or also again, like find a way to, you know, if I could share my email address, folks can send me an email if they want to be part of a list so that we can, you know, keep you in the loop for when we have more community meetings. If other folks have thoughts about, you know, 5 stories and parking and things like that, we'd love to hear your perspective. I understand that it is that many folks feel like it's a pretty heavily overly parked communities, things like that. So like, to the extent that you know, that all of those comments are helpful to hear. And so yeah, anybody else have anything?
I just want to say to Mr. Peckman, is it? I'm sorry, yes. Hi. You mentioned that you know, the community is supportive generally of supportive house or low-income housing. If there's people that you want us to talk to as we're you know, formulating what we're going to propose, because again, most developers come in with a specific plan. We want to propose a plan that we know people are going to, that reflects all the things we're hearing. So it's kind of, we do it backwards. We're doing it backwards. Instead of coming in with something that you say, no, I don't like that and that, we'd rather design something that will be acceptable. So if there are people specifically that we need to be talking to, in addition to you, please reach out to us and we will do that. I can't stress that enough. But you had mentioned there are people in the community. I'd like to know who they are, if they'd be willing to talk to me. I also have an email and phone, and I'm happy to share it. So please, we want to go forward with something that, maybe not everybody, but a lot of the people that we've talked to say, yeah, that's what we had in mind, or it fits in with our plans, or with our ideas of what this community needs.
Steve, did you want to respond?
No, thank you.
Okay, great. Allison, can you repeat your email address so that I can put it in the chat box for everyone? Who wasn't
Sure.
at the UNNC meeting?
Here, let me chat it to you and you can post it.
Okay, and then Linda, could you do the same as well?
It's under the chat?
Yeah, okay. Just send it to me via chat and then I will share with everyone. All right, Marina, I'm gonna ask you to unmute. Please go ahead.
Hello, excuse me, sorry. Hello, this is Marina. Yeah, I just want to build on what Stephen was saying and also respond to what Linda, her kind invitation to us. Yes, we do support housing, but we also support our historic district. So if you want to know what we want, it's all spelled out in our preservation plan. We worked on that document with the city and it's been approved by the city. And we are very grateful when people come in with proposals that actually follow the preservation plan, because that shows a certain level of respect to us as a community, you know, that the time was taken to study the preservation plan and to come up with a proposal that fits the preservation plan. That's how you speak to the community, and that's how you gain our trust and show us respect. And I just want to point out that new construction in that commercial corridor needs to, according to our preservation plan, it needs to maintain the average scale of the historic buildings on the corridor. And as you drive up and down that corridor, you can see that the average scale of the historic buildings is 1 to 2 stories. So that's where we're starting from. Any additional stories, an additional story to that, say a 3rd story, would be heavily negotiated. So I do want you to bear that in mind, and please do study very carefully the preservation plan and build your proposal according to that, because when developers and others come to the board with a proposal that actually follows the preservation plan, it means a lot to the community. It shows a really high level of respect to the community and to the historic district that we work so hard to get. Thank you.
I think Helen's next. Helen, I'm asking you to unmute. Go ahead.
Hi. I think other people have addressed the things that are most important, the historic nature of the things. The other thing is there is no parking in this neighborhood. I live on the block behind on 31st Street, and we have an overnight parking, restricted parking. It's permit parking only. So I'm just really interested in where all these, 50 or 60 units worth of people are going to park, because Jefferson is packed. All the streets are packed. I mean, 0 parking seems very interesting. And I was wondering if you could address that.
So the transit-oriented communities plan that was passed by the city allows affordable housing at this site to not have parking. Now, we understand and we're hearing you that parking is needed, and we're trying to figure out how much we can fit. And so that we are, this is part of some of the trade-offs, right? Like, if we're gonna, there is a building size and a number of units that makes the project feasible. And how much we can fit in a how many we can fit depending on the height. And so and kind of similar to Mariana and Steve, wanting us to fit into the historic plan. I think we are trying to meet the spirit of the plan, and know that affordable housing is so critical to our communities that the code allows some bonuses on top of what's in the plan. And so is there a design that can be respectful, but maybe goes, so we're looking for something in the middle, I think is likely the answer on that.
Okay, great. Michelle, I'm gonna unmute you.
Hey, hi. I wasn't at the last meeting where you spoke about this project, so I apologize if you've already addressed it, but I guess my question, just a question, is why you picked this neighborhood, because we aren't the West Side. And I guess I don't want to be, anyway, I'll just listen.
Well, one reason why this site was particularly attractive to us, to be honest, was that there was an existing building that we thought we might be able to house folks in really quickly, while we contemplated whether that was a sufficient operating strategy or redevelopment down the road would be appropriate. That in our due diligence in investigating the site, that is not panning out to be accurate. we do have some local relationships in the community, including with the Liberty Community Land Trust, who is a relatively new organization, but is really grassroots based, and so they're a potential partner here. So I think, you know, as we, you know, like I said, as we are kind of growing our footprint a bit, we are, you know, kind of expanding our vision of the West Side, but definitely want that vision to include kind of building new relationships and that sort of thing. And so this is just kind of probably coming up to the border of beyond where we would go, right? Like probably Western is like as far as we can kind of stretch that definition, but that is kind of where the thinking is. And so yeah, that's where we are.
Melon, did you have a question? I'm asking you to unmute. It's working. I'll go to Stephen next. Stephen, I'm gonna unmute you.
Okay, I guess my question is, what kind of on-site management staffing is going to be going on in this place on a regular basis? Obviously, when we have transitional housing, you know, some people are going to have problems, and I'm just curious if this is an absentee landlord situation, so to speak, or if they're staffed 24/7 in terms of monitoring what goes on at the property and who's responsible on a day-to-day basis at the property.
Sure. So Venice Community Housing is a property manager as well. So we manage all of our own properties. So there's, you know, there's no absenteeism happening. All of our sites have an on-site manager. So we will have a unit dedicated to an on-site manager. Probably, you know, one on-site manager, and then we'll have additional staff during the day depending on the population that we're serving, right? We'll probably, right now the thought is a mix of supportive and affordable units. And so, you know, like I said, we don't know how many units of each right now, but so depending on kind of how that all comes together, there'll be additional staff there, kind of in a flex schedule, you know, at least Monday through Fridays.
Have any
another thing, as we go forward, we'd like to give, well, we can't really do it right much now, but we can have drive-by tours of our existing properties. We used to love to take people in and meet our tenants and see how it operates, but we could arrange some sort of drive-by situation where you could see our properties and see how well managed they are and, you know, what they look like. So that would be, or we could just give addresses and you can drive around. We'd love to be able to bring you in, but I don't think we're quite there yet.
Madam Chair, I'd like to remind you that we have reached the time limit on this item, but you still have 5 hands up. So if you'd like to continue, please let me know, and then I would remind those with questions to please keep it specific.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Let's see. I think he dropped. Brian, go ahead.
Hi, yes, this is Brian, and if this project goes forward, will be one of your neighbors across the alley. And I have a mix of enthusiasm for what you're proposing, as well as a number of concerns, which have been, some of them have been voiced here. So I have your email addresses and I'll reach out. I just wanted to introduce myself. Thank you for taking the time.
Ellen, go ahead.
Hi, 2 questions. Where else other than Venice are your buildings, or is it just Venice West Side and here, or do you have them anywhere else in the city, anywhere?
At this time, yeah.
And I have another, and the other next question, just to save time, what does supportive mean?
Sure.
So those 2.
So right now, our portfolio is focused on the West Side. This would be our first project, kind of in our expanded boundary kind of point of view. Supportive housing is housing for folks who were previously experiencing homelessness, that provides on-site supportive care to help those residents get the support that they need to live independent lives. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Our properties are Venice, Mar Vista, Del Rey, not just Venice. In fact, I think we have more properties in Del Rey than we do in Venice, but Venice, Mar Vista, Del Rey, and we actually have a group home for, mostly permanent housing, but we have a couple of properties that for transitional living, one for families, and 2 houses that are for transition age youth, 18 to 24, that are transitional living, one in Westwood and one in Mar Vista. But the vast majority of our properties are permanent housing, some supportive, some not. But right now we go all the way to Westwood and Mar Vista, all the way up to Slauson. And I guess it's the end of Culver City, close to Culver City, yeah. So we're moving that in your direction.
Great. Steve, go ahead.
Thank you. So Allison, I just want to make sure I understood something that you said a couple minutes ago before I was dumped out, that there's a bonus allowed on top of the HPOZ plan. And I'm not aware of a city code that allows a bonus on top of an HPOZ plan. Would you provide the citation for that, please?
I can certainly provide more detail. Anoop, I don't know if you want to speak to that now, or we can, it's up to you.
We can provide that detail. Steve, we were also looking at the CPIO plan to help us understand the base density, base heights. And so our starting point for the base height was 3 stories because it was classified as a transit-oriented development, low-density neighborhood within the CPIO plan, and that property is located right on the edge of that CPIO South plan. And so that's how we came up with the 5 to 6 stories, is because you can add your 2 to 3 stories in addition for 100% affordable housing project to that low density.
Right, but it's my understanding that there's nothing in the code that says that transit-oriented community, the CPIO, provides the HPOZ plan. And so I think that would be a worthwhile thing to investigate for you. And because in my understanding of our last meeting, you have a September deadline regarding this property.
That's correct.
To make sure that you actually want to engage this property, I think it would be important for you to know and convey to our community exactly what the code allows and doesn't allow. And it's my understanding that the HPOZ plan is the code for the HPOZ.
Steve, don't quote me on this, but I believe this may be related to the state in the sense that it's Prop JJJ. I just guessing, but I don't know.
It would be worth investigating.
Understood. We'll continue to look closely at it, and like I said, at the HPOZ, I'm sure it'll become more clear.
And we're working with Max to make sure, you know, we're all in alignment with which plan to use, what base densities, what base heights to use, and then what incentives we're allowed to use as a 100% affordable housing project.
Great. Lizzie, go ahead.
Yes, very quickly. So again, regarding the issue of parking, I just can't see how it can be worked out, because if the tenants are supportive, you know, are part of the supportive community, isn't there, first of all, staff that is going to be needing parking, and maybe, I don't know, case workers, people who provide the support for these tenants, where are they going to park? So please take that into consideration, besides everything else that has already been said. Thank you.
One question I had, since I think we're done with questions, is you have a September deadline. So is that in 2 weeks? Or how many weeks 2 weeks?
I think it's about 2 weeks.
2
Mhm.
weeks.
That's for us to make a risk decision, right? Like, so we're gonna decide, yeah. If
Okay,
we're
are you
ready.
planning to hold any community meetings before in those 2 weeks, or will those be held after you make the decision?
Well, we count this as a community meeting, and we counted last week as a community meeting, and HPOZ will be another community meeting, and we may try to sneak in one or two if we figure out how to connect with some more people. And we've been trying to connect with people kind of one-on-one, with COVID, that might be kind of the easier thing to get started. But we'll be reaching out, like if folks reach out to us, we're going to reach out to you, and we'll continue the conversation. Is there something in particular, Nancy, that you are thinking would be important to do before we made that decision, or what's kind of?
No, I mean, I think I agree with what Steve said. I think it'd be great to have a proposal that then the community can comment on. It's a bit difficult for them to comment on something that's still in the works, and so if that would be possible. Audrey, I'm gonna let you ask one last question, and then I think we're gonna close the meeting because we're over time. So.
All right, one last question for Anup. I didn't hear it when you said you were working with someone at the city.
Max, he's the HPOZ planner for Jefferson Park.
No, I thought you had a project planner who was working with you on the Proposition JJJ and the limits on the CPIO. And that's
that is Max, right?
Yeah, Max Loader. He's the one. So we talked to a couple of planners, Audrey. We talked to first, I believe his name, Rafael Luentes from city planning. And he mentioned that we should really talk to Max Loader. We also talked to Helen Gelati. And both Helen and Rafael mentioned that we should talk to Max. And Max,
you had been talking to about the limits of the entitlement on the site. So just Max.
Max, Helen Gelati, and I'll get confirmation on the third one.
Okay, thank you.
The third person, I believe his name is Rafael.
And Nancy, if I could just respond to your comment a little bit, just about our decision is not the end of our community engagement process, right? Like that, these initial early conversations are to get a sense of whether we think we can, that we'll be able to work with the community to come up with a project that everybody can buy into, to get a sense of that. Not that we're gonna have that hammered out before we make that decision. So we're just, and then once we, that just means that we're more invested in making sure that the deal moves forward, and we're gonna, really be pushing to make sure that it happens in some way, shape, or form. And then the community engagement will continue throughout the process and really right throughout the life of the project. So.
One of the things we like to do, and I'm offering this, we call them meatballs. Don't ask me why. But we ask people to invite whomever they want. We did it, used to do it in person, and hopefully we will again. But now, if any of you want to invite people that you know that we should talk to a meeting like this, we'll show up wherever we're invited. And it actually is turning out to be easier. We haven't had that yet. We're just getting to know you. But if any of you want to invite just people that you think need to know who we are and ask other questions, we'll go, please, we will show up where we're invited. So. When we do those meetings, we ask the person who hosts it to invite whomever they want. We don't choose the people. We just find the host, and then we'll talk to whomever wants to talk to us.
Thank you, BCH.
Okay.
Nancy?
Yes, so I just to remind everyone, Allison's and Linda's email addresses are in the chat box, so please go ahead and reach out to them if you have any specific questions on the project, or if you want to host one of these community meetings that Linda is speaking about. We can go ahead and, so the next item on the agenda was any topics or that you would like to discuss in future meetings. If anyone has any suggestions on topics that they would like to cover at the Jefferson Park Public Safety Committee meeting, in addition to public safety, you can go ahead and let me know now or send me an email. Again, my email address is in the chat box. So I think unless anyone has any suggestions for future meeting topics, then we can go ahead and adjourn the meeting.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Nancy, I'm going to download the chat just in case.
Okay. I wrote it down. Is Laura
Do you
on?
want the chat, Nancy?
Yes, if you could send that to me.
If you go to the chat box, see where the 3-dot menu is,
Oh, yes.
it'll click it and save it to where your Zoom files are. Or you can just copy and paste the whole thing.
No, it saved it.
Just remember to keep private out of everything else.
Yes.
I'm trying to get a hold of Laura to let her know I'm changing her over to host, and then you can log out. I just want to make sure she's got everything she needs. So
Okay.
you did a good job.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Jeff. I tried. All right. Well, have a good rest of your night.
You too.
Take care. Bye.